Hi. Hello, everyone. How are you today? Let's let some of you come on. Here we go. Hi. It's that time. Even though I did one last week, we are going to do another Fertility Hot Seat because I don't think I can come live for 2 more weeks after this. So here we go. People are already requesting to join live, so you know how it goes down. I'm going to pick at random one of you who requests to join me live. So you have to hit that plus button down on the bottom of your screen. You have to be on a phone to join me live. You can't join me from a laptop. And you request to join me live, and then you're going to be selected at random to go live with me and get a free 15-minute fertility consult based on not medical advice, based on my clinical experience of helping women get and stay pregnant for almost 20 years, which is insane to think out loud that it's been that long. Based on clinical experience, based on my experience working with women all over the world. My team and I coach women all over the world, helping them get and stay pregnant. I have written 2 books on the topic of fertility. The most recent one called The Egg Quality Diet, and the first one called Yes, You Can Get Pregnant. And so, yeah, here we are. So I'm going to give you guys like 1 more minute to request to join me live, and then I'm going to go in there and I'm going to select one of you and have some fun. I know so many of you love watching and listening. I think it really helps make us all feel less alone in this journey. I know a lot of practitioners like to watch and learn, and I love that. I welcome that. One of these days, when in all my spare time, I will get together some sort of apprenticeship program, I promise. Any of you really want to do an apprenticeship program, DM me, because you never know. It might motivate me. And yeah, I know so many of you, though, just like to listen. Hear me break down what I think could be going on with the case. All right, so let's see. We got a few people on here. I'm going to go with Margot. So let's see. We'll bring Margot on live. And let's do this. I always like to take notes. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good at hanging in there.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Where are you located?
I'm in Mill Creek, Washington. It's a little bit north of Seattle.
Okay. Nice. It looks so pretty. Like it's so green behind you. And lush.
Yeah, pretty green.
Yes. It's green here now too, but we don't get that all year round, obviously. You probably don't either. So tell me what's going on. How can I help?
Well, I just had a chemical. It was my first ever pregnancy. I'm 38.
Okay.
And I've been following you and your protocol that to the best of my ability, not perfectly at all.
Perfection does not equal pregnancy, right?
Yeah. I was even surprised when I got pregnant. Was not expecting that.
And which protocol? The Yes, You Can Get Pregnant or the Egg Quality Diet?
The egg quality.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long were you trying?
About a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had actually tried the letrozole. It was the second month that I had tried letrozole, just the 2.5 milligrams. I didn't increase the dosage at all.
And did you do just timed intercourse, no IUI?
Just timed intercourse.
Okay. Yeah. And any other, like in the year that you've been trying, any other diagnoses, or has anybody looked at your thyroid or your vitamin D levels or?
Yeah, I had the thyroid done.
Okay.
Yeah, I was working with Seattle Reproductive Medicine, and they checked I think my A1C, I think it was, but something about my glucose came back fine.
Okay.
And my vitamin D was 40, so I think it was on the low normal. So I had, as soon as I found that out, it was like I think a month or 2 before I got pregnant, I had started taking Seeking Health, their vitamin K combo.
Good.
And I've had like some past health issues with like blood clotting. Like I had some labs come back showing that my blood was very viscous. I forgot exactly what the lab was, but
Your ESR maybe?
well, it was a metabolic, it was a full metabolic panel for MTHFR because
Okay.
I do have the MTHFR.
Okay.
And so when the nurse did the full metabolic panel, one of the bloods came back and it was like in the reds, you know, it was kind of in the extreme end of it, showing very viscous blood. So I've always been really conscious about, you know, making sure my blood was flowing right. And I actually had just gotten a job. I'm a full-time realtor, but I had gotten a part-time, just recreational fun job as a Pure Barre instructor
Oh,
a few
fun.
months ago. So I was really moving.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's
Okay.
a lot of like hip thrusting and I think that's, you know, also a reason I got pregnant is because of all that movement.
Yeah.
And but yes, I'm trying to like keep the blood flowing and all that. So I was taking OPC. And then after I got pregnant, I kind of was like, oh my gosh, I should have been talking to Aimee Raupp because, or I don't know if I said your last name right.
Yeah,
I'm like, I now do not know what to do with this positive pregnancy test as far as my supplements go because I have so many of them.
And then what is OPC? Tell me what that is. Why do I not know?
It is my acupuncturist had recommended it. It's kind of hard to pronounce, but it helps with blood flow through the pelvic area.
I know exactly what it is. Sorry, I see it right now. It's a grapeseed phytosome. Let's see. It's the yeah, it's like a phospholipid complex, right? Yeah, so it's like fats, right? Is it grapeseed phytosome? Does that sound right? OPC? That's it, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple different like brands. And I just got the Thorn 100 milligram because it was easier to take than mixing all the powders. But I also have a powder.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I use that because I guess I use fish oil for that. Maybe the same type of approach in a sense of like, yeah, this is like, these ingredients are derived from soy. I don't really love that personally, but so tell me what you were taking just now and when you got pregnant.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot.
Okay.
I thought I had endo, so I was taking Wobenzyme, which I love, and I did that 3 years ago, and it completely, I feel, had cleared me out. But I do little regimens of it every now and again.
And were you doing like the three times a day, or just 3 once a day?
Just 3, sometimes with a meal, not very many at all.
Okay.
Because I don't. And I was taking the fish oil, the Rosita I have.
Okay. And how much of that?
For a while, I was taking the 2 milligrams that you recommended, but then I kind of just got so busy that I was taking, I think, just 1 milligram.
Okay.
Or 1 gram. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, gram. I know what you meant though.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was doing the fish oil, and I was really craving fish as soon as I got the positive test. It was, you know, Copper River salmon season. So I was telling my husband, like, I need a whole fish. I'm like, I need to get the whole salmon. And he's like, whoa. So I definitely that, you know, I need to stay on the fish oil supplements or increase it. But yeah, so immediately I thought, oh, this is maybe APS because of that old lab that I had with the viscous blood. So then I was kind of surprised when all my labs came back, you know, kind of negative and normal.
Yeah, of that. Were you on baby aspirin or no?
I was taking the baby aspirin. As soon as I got the positive test, I was, oh, I should take the baby aspirin.
So maybe for future, take it once you ovulate. Start it earlier and see.
Every other month I had done that.
And then go back up on the fish oil too. Like those are the 2 big things I would say. Just considering like the viscosity of the blood, you know, without looking at your labs. Those are 2 things I mean, of course, discuss with your doc, but that's like the first 2 things I would think of. And then go on with what else you're taking.
Coenzyme Q10, just for 300 milligrams of that.
Okay.
I'll do 600. I take ancestral supplement, desiccated liver. The month I got pregnant, I was taking the adrenal blend.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Okay.
that was they're bad. I tried to do some research on it. There's not a ton.
Mm-mm.
Um,
But
so
it's good. Like a lot of people, I mean, if your cortisol levels are off or low, a lot of people do well with the glandulars, so maybe you needed just a little extra of that. So I don't think that's a bad thing to have in the mix. I probably would stop it once you get pregnant. I think liver, at least in my clinical experience, liver is the most like studied that we can seem to be on throughout pregnancy. But then again, in other cultures, plenty of people eat organ meats in their pregnancy that are cooked. So
yeah, we've been taking them, both my husband and I, for a few years now, and he loves them. Like the heart is really good for the COQ10. I hadn't been
yeah,
taking that. I was taking the brain. Like
yeah.
I've had like some mental health issues as well.
Okay.
And so like I try to stay away from coffee because it's very stimulating. I
Yeah.
try to stay away from wine because it's depressing. And so, I'll have a little bit here and there, but like we're really careful about that. So when I feel like I take the brain, I don't know if it's a placebo effect. I'm like, oh, my brain's doing so
You're
good,
so
right?
clear. I love it. Okay.
But I think there was a lot of omega-3s in that too, I read. And then I was taking,
Probably because the brain's all fat. I mean, that's all it is.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
cool. Okay.
I take of lion's mane because my girlfriend had accidentally gotten pregnant and I was like, show me your protocol. And she had lion's mane. So I was taking
Okay.
that really just to remember my aerobic script that I had to memorize.
Okay.
So
Okay.
kind of
And
funny.
then how about
But
for the MTHFR?
just doing the active folate, the
Okay.
methylfolate with the B12. I take the Seeking Health B12 folate blend.
The active B12.
And then I was taking the Douglas Labs prenatal, and that has the iron in it that I can handle. And I had actually taken
Okay.
that month, and I feel like that also maybe helped because I have been anemic in the past.
Okay. And so it's like the bisglycinate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one in there? Let me just look and see. I'm sure it is because they're pretty smart. Iron aspharinol, which I'm sure is bisglycinate. Let's see where they talk about it. Okay. Okay. And then extra, so you're getting 800, right? So then extra, and were you taking like about 1600 total of the methylfolate, would you say? Between the Seeking Health and then that one, do you know?
Let me look on that one because I know that's important for the MTHFR.
I can pull it up too. So it was the
I
Seeking
have
Health B12 folate, right? Look at
programs.
you, girl. I love
Oh
it.
no, 13. It's 1360, 800
Okay.
micrograms,
Yeah. So
and
it's the
then
hydroxy B12 with folinic. Is that it? Oh no,
let's
active
see.
B12 with L5. I see it.
It's the quadrifolic.
Yeah. Um,
So 800. I
800.
actually, this confuses me. It says 1360 mcg and then it says 800 mcg right next to it. So I've always been a little confused about that.
So the DFE after the 1360 means dietary folate equivalent. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like what you're getting from like food related, and then the 800 mcg is like the equivalent of what it would be in a supplement. So I would almost count the 1360 personally,
Okay.
especially if like considering like absorption is fine. But so the
Yeah.
nat plus the 8, like I think you're in good range there with the MTHFR.
Okay.
And then tell me what else. Anything else you're taking?
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of fun stuff here. I've got spirulina that I would do with the liver and the fish oil Sundays. I've got inositol that I had started the month I got pregnant. That was new. Which this one I got from Fairhaven. It's just 2,000 milligrams of myo-inositol, and that I would take when I would take my ultra preventative. This is my other vitamin that I would take on the days that I didn't feel like I ate right, because there's just a lot more in here. And
You
this
wouldn't
has
prenatal. Okay.
the regular inositol. So then when I took my other prenatal, I would take the blend of the like the inositol, the Mayo and the
Okay.
inositol, the
Right. And
52,
then
the
not take
ratio or whatever.
here.
Yeah, and then
This
I
has
was
50
taking,
milligrams. Right. It doesn't have a ton of inositol though. It's only got 25 in that. Is that right?
yeah, there's not a ton of it, depending on how many pills you take.
Right. Okay.
And I wouldn't take
So you
the
were
full dose.
alternating that with the prenatal, and then was the spirulina like every day, or you just kind of hopped around? If you...
No, for some, like probably last month, it was more often. Like I don't know. I do these different protocols like every other week. It's weird. Like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this week, and I need to stick with something.
Yeah.
So no, I hadn't really done the
Okay.
spirulina, which I'm concerned with the minerals, the content. Like I think I had one of my tests came back almost hypo for thyroid, which I kind of got off track with you when you asked me about that.
Yeah.
But it basically came back not slow, but it almost came back too quickly, like too fast. I think it's the
Okay.
hyper.
So
And it
was that
was
a lower one?
all my tests
Mhm.
are on the right on the edge. Like
Okay.
there's never one that's like, oh, it's that. It's like right on the cusp. So it
Right.
came back like, oh, you're almost hyper,
And have you had
thyroid.
antibodies checked, thyroid antibodies?
Yeah, they checked the antibodies and it
And they
was
were
like
fine?
really low. It was like, oh, you have 4 of them. And I'm like, what does that mean? And it's like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah, not much. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with the spirulina, I think I pay attention to it more, or I'm conscious of recommending it more with Hashimoto's because um, some of the ingredients in the spirulina can aggravate Hashis in some of the patients. But it's back in the day when I wrote Yes, You Can Get Pregnant, I recommended spirulina instead of a prenatal because there just wasn't good enough prenatals out there. And now there's some really good ones out there with like the right amount of choline and like you said, the right irons. And there's ones without iron for people who don't need it. And so what a lot of my patients do, or I have a lot of my patients do, is alternate every other day where they do the prenatal one day, the spirulina the next day. But you can also just do pure prenatal if you wanted as well. If the spirulina like makes you a little apprehensive, like I would almost maybe listen to that instinct of like maybe it's just a little too I would only think about that with Hashimoto's, but it can be a little like immunoreactive in a sense for some people. It depends on like the
Yeah,
TH1 versus the TH2,
I
which is
saw that and I have an instinct about that I had an immune reaction.
yeah.
And so I added the colostrum, which I think is supposed to bring down like TH1
Yep.
levels or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then the OPC was supposed to help with that, according to some article I found on the internet, right?
Okay.
I like, at
Right.
this point, I'm like done with
Yeah, so
Dr.
the OPC, the
Phil.
only thing that I didn't like about, and I love Thorne, I recommend them a lot. The only thing I don't like is that it's soy derived. So I think do a little more digging, make sure it's non-GMO soy. It should be, right? If we respect Thorne. I think they make good choices with their ingredients, but I would dig a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
And see, and then also to think about like for uterine blood flow, just like the castor oil packs in the follicular phase and or the abdominal gua sha, I think are great things to do to help with ovulation, obviously continuing the acupuncture. And then with the chemical, like what was the beta, or did you just have a positive and then you got a period the next day and no beta?
It was 37.
Okay.
No, I was taking progesterone that Seattle Reproductive gave me, and I went and had it made at the compound pharmacy because I didn't want the synthetic fillers. So I was taking 100 milligrams 3 times a day.
And did you
And
need it? Was it low? Was your progesterone low?
I don't know that he just put me on it because I've had PMDD.
Okay.
And so what happened was I was going to just get established with them once we started trying. And I had been trying the cream, the Emeritus, cream, and it helped a lot. Like, I'd start to get really irritable right around when I was ovulating, my poor husband. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to do something about this. So I put the cream on and it would help for like a couple hours. And then I was telling my doctor about it, and he's like, "Oh, you probably need much more." And I was so scared to try it. I literally had it sitting on my, nightstand for 2 months before I tried it. And then one night I flipped out, and I'm like, "That's it. I'm trying the, the supplement. I'm so sorry, honey. My PMS is just, out of control." And I tried it, and I slept so great, and I felt so much better. And I'm like, "Well, I probably needed that progesterone." Okay. So I just continued to take it. And then when I got my progesterone checked during the pregnancy, it was 40. And then according to the internet, like, I couldn't tell if that was good or bad. Like, some things were saying it was low. Some things were saying it was high.
That's not low.
Okay.
That's great. I like it above a 15. Like, and in the 20s is like what makes me happy, but a 40 is good. Okay. So, I mean, I think there's a couple things too, which, like, how I work, of like, maybe we want to look at, like, or get to the root of the PMDD, of like why you're getting the PMS symptoms. And if you actually do have low progesterone, like, that's almost something I would look into. You could do, like, in your next cycle, if you wanted, like, a Dutch test, which would give you a lot of information. I don't know if your acupuncturist, like, knows how to or can support you in reviewing that. Or use, like, the Mira or the Uva. Those are both at-home testing kits that I love to test progesterone levels post-ovulation to see if it's low, and then to supplement. I think it's a great sign that you got pregnant. So it's like something's working because you've been trying for a year, right? So this is like, okay, I think we found our sweet spot. And then maybe it's just the consistency with, like, I would keep at that 2,000 milligrams of that fish oil. I would take the baby aspirin once you ovulate. Like, those two things, when I think about, like, if there's like a clotting factor issue, like, that's where I'd want you to stay. Do you know what I mean? And then also probably just stick with the prenatal, drop that, the spirulina. Like, if you feel like you just drop it. And then the other one, the ultra preventative, like, I don't know that you need that. Like, I would just almost stick with the prenatal personally. And then the liver,
I
for
had
sure.
stopped taking that. I had stopped taking the ultra preventative and just stuck with the prenatal, and that's when I got pregnant. So there's a lot of stuff.
So I think it's like almost like, okay, I'm gonna consistent. I'm not gonna jump around, and then, like, keep on the inositol, the CoQ10. CoQ10 you would stop once you get pregnant. I usually, like, my pregnancy regimen is usually like for you, I would stay on that active B12 and folate. I would stay on the prenatal. I would stay on liver. I would stay on fish oil, and then vitamin D if you need it. And, like, that's it. Probiotics, but, like, keep it really simple. And of course the baby aspirin, sorry. And then you can kind of stop everything else. The wobenzyme, though, considering, actually, I'm going to scratch that. The wobenzyme, considering, go ahead.
The NAC I was going to ask you about too, because I know on one of your other lives you were like, stay on the NAC, and I didn't know what to do about that either. So I'm like, oh my God.
I know it's a lot. So a lot of times it's like, if it's been a while that you've been trying and then you get pregnant all of a sudden, I'm very much a creature of, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Do you know what I mean? But, like, we do scale back on the supplements. NAC is not unsafe in pregnancy, but some people scale back on it around COVID. And if you're high exposure, I will keep people on it in the first trimester, especially. The wobenzyme, I think, is interesting because I used to never even use it in the luteal phase, but then now there's some research showing with recurrent pregnancy loss, it seems to help. And I think it has something to do with, like, clotting factor, blood stuff, it's just kind of helping, and it's a major anti-inflammatory. So if you suspected endometriosis at some point, that can be really helpful. The NAC as well for endo, super helpful. The endo dosing is usually like 12 to 1800, a day. It depends on the day. And I cut that back to like 600 of the NAC. So,
yeah.
And then, but I think for you too, of like, okay, I'm just going to stick to this regimen. And then food wise, were you kind of more on or off, like, egg quality style eating this month?
We got married like a week and a half ago. We got married in Vegas a year ago, like, COVID style, and then had the wedding last week. So I was having this chemical pregnancy, during the wedding. I'm like, really?
That sucks. I'm sorry.
Very painful. So I was lucky that way. But
diet wise, probably not. Totally.
I was not really eating very much because I was trying to get that last 5 pounds off because my dress was kind of tight. And so I was just fasting and having like your coffee recommendation with the protein and the fat. I was doing that until like 11 and then just trying to stick low carb kind of keto. Like I started incorporating a lot of cheese. I don't know. I grew up eating a lot of cheese, so I just figured my body was used to it.
Yeah.
So I was just eating like cheese and meat and I don't know, just trying to keep my protein high. I had that pea protein from
Okay.
Ritual that has the
Yeah.
choline in it.
Uh-huh.
So just yeah, low carb veggies. I
Okay.
just saute kale with everything, eggs.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like, I wouldn't do the fasting moving forward, because could that have been part of, I don't know, didn't have enough oomph to stick, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, and,
Yeah.
but I like the high protein. I would just probably have some more carbohydrate in there because the high protein and then the fat comes with that quality of protein. But maybe more like sweet potatoes, plantains, that kind of thing. Even some rice, if that works for you. And yeah, and give it. And also, it's something to think about with the letrozole of like, okay, were your cycles delayed ever, or did you always ovulate on time?
I was ovulating on like days 17, 18, 19. So it
And when did
wasn't,
you ovulate? The month you got pregnant? What day?
it was still like 17 or
Okay.
18.
So
Didn't really bring it up that much.
yeah, it might have given you a little more estrogen, and so the egg was a little juicier. That's like one thing it can do, right? Because it helps you, it's an estrogen receptor blocker, and so it causes estrogen to pool, and then that's how you can get more than one. Um, yeah, I mean, to me, it's like I would still stay that style of eating, just skip the fasting and kind of, a little more carbs and then just be like super consistent with doing the prenatal and the B12 methylfolate and the fish oil on there, and then the baby aspirin in the luteal phase. And then you can also ask your doc, like next month after this cycle, after you ovulate, just go in like 5 or 6 days post ovulation and get blood work for progesterone to see, do we really need it?
Yeah.
You can do like I like the UVA or the Mira because then you can test at home like every day and see what your progesterone is, and they're pretty accurate. They're not accurate for like a very small percentage of the population who have this weird enzyme that the urine progesterone doesn't show up, but most people it works really well for. And so then you would say, oh, okay, my progesterone's up. I don't really need the progesterone cream versus like having it, but trying to
Right.
figure out like also, and you work with your acupuncturist on this too, of like what's the root of the PMDD. I would kind of like focus on that piece too, because it's like it sounds
I
like
thought it was
yeah,
maybe a magnesium deficiency because when I
could
started
be.
taking magnesium, it completely went away.
Yeah.
So I stuck on a magnesium calcium supplement. And then I also wanted to tell you I was taking LDN and I've been taking that since January. And I found that to be very helpful.
Yeah.
And the doctor from Ireland that kind of pioneered it in
Mm-hmm.
fertility, he recommends staying on it throughout the pregnancy.
Yeah.
But I know on one of your other case studies that you did, the gal, I think she was from New York, she had gotten off of it in her first trimester. So
Yeah,
I was
she was
thinking
working
like,
with Parsley Health and they pulled it because there's just like it's like melatonin, it's like N.A.C. There's just not enough clinical research to say yes, this is safe. But
mm-hmm.
I treat a lot of physicians, female physicians who are trying to conceive in their 40s. They are all on the LDN. They all prescribe it for themselves. They all take it. They're very keen on the research. I think it's really interesting. And so, and I think it's like probably safe to be on it in pregnancy, but I would leave that to the doctor. But I would definitely, like anything you're doing, I would try to stick to the plan as much as you can through the first trimester. So the LDN could really be helpful in reducing. Do you feel like you had a lot of inflammatory symptoms at one point and now they're lower and less?
Oh yeah, like complete health transformation. And I'm so glad I tried the LDN. I go off of it like when I'm on the letrozole. I can't do that much weird stuff to my body, so I
Yeah.
don't take it when I'm taking letrozole for those 4 days. But when I go back on it, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so much better.
Okay. Yeah, so that sounds good. So it's like there are a lot of things in the mix, but I think the big ones to stand out are like the LDN, the Wob enzyme, the prenatal, the extra B12 and methylfolate, the fish oil, the vitamin D, the N.A.C., especially if like you feel like there was endo, the baby aspirin in the luteal phase, I would do like castor oil packs and or abdominal gua sha in the follicular phase. Eat more regularly. Like the fasting isn't great for PMDD. And of course the magnesium. Like I think magnesium is a great supplement. I just had a coaching call with a girl this morning who just got pregnant after like 3 years of trying, 42, natural conception, which is amazing. And we're adding in magnesium because I feel like, you know, it's like one of those really important supplements even in pregnancy. And see that too. And then almost like, do I need the progesterone? Because if progesterone's low, then I think about, okay, that egg isn't as healthy as it could be. So then we go back to like egg quality diet, foundations of that kind of thing. But the diet sounds like it's in place. So it's like fat, protein, veggies, don't fast, and stay at it. Because it sounds like you're very close.
Okay.
And it could be that baby aspirin, just starting it right after ovulation versus starting it once you get it positive.
Okay. Of course, every other month I had started it after.
And that's the piece too of like, let's not beat ourselves up. I mean, you know, you grieve it, you process it as much as you can. It's also though a beautiful sign that your body's like, we're onto this. Like this is our next step. You know, we're doing this. And so, as much as you can have that be your takeaway.
Yeah, there was some positives for sure. Like it was definitely like it was a psych out, but then it was also like, oh wait, it happened, and I could like noticeably tell that my husband was very excited.
Aww,
he was like, wow, like your body can get pregnant. That's so cool. You know, he's just like really, really excited.
Good. Yeah. And like, I mean, that's how I look at it. Like when my very clinical hat is on, not to like undermine the sadness or the like, you know, the mind fuck, if you will, like you're just up and down like that, especially like during you're about to get married, you know what I mean? The whole thing. But it's a wink. I think it's a wink from, you know, whatever you believe in, you know, the greater beings of just like, okay, you're on the right path. Now keep doing. And so just a little more tweaks. And the fasting to me is always a big tweak too of like, I get why you were doing it. Totally. We're all girls and fitting into our dresses is important. So I get it. But I think next time around of like, okay, let's have a solid breakfast that's not intermittent fast, and get a little more carbs, even just 20-25% carbs.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Keep us posted. Cheering for you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story here too. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I've been following you for a long time. And, you know, I do think that the egg quality diet was a big part of, you know, my healing process and getting this far. So thank you.
Healing the gut. I mean, that's where it's at, you know, reducing inflammation, healing the gut. It's like, yeah, that's it. So yeah, I think you're in the zone. Just keep at it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Sending you so much love. Okay. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Bye-bye.